Hey guys, welcome back to Easy Acupuncture School. I'm Stacy Hewitt, acupuncturist of 13 years and teacher of 7. Um, I'm here today to start my first lecture, and it's called Who's Got the Biggest Team? So when you start an acupuncture school and you're a little fledgling who doesn't know much, things can be a little confusing. I was confused. What I would do a lot of times is I would hear Western medical condition, and then I'd be taking notes, and then I would write that this Western condition, medical condition equates this Chinese medical pattern. That's not the way to do it, right? I didn't know any better. I was just a young student, didn't know any better. But doing that method, sometimes I would get confused because you would have things like fatigue. That always really stumped me because, with fatigue, you can have, I've got some breathing issues. I can't, really breathe well. So that can make you tired. You can have some digestive issues. The stomach spleen might not be working. So when you're not extracting that gut chi from your food, right, or you're not making it more simple, you're not extracting the nutritive energy from the food and the drink that makes you vital, that can cause fatigue. Oh, Stacy, I'm a little depressed. Depression can make people fatigue, and that could be the liver, right? Or potentially maybe the heart. Um, so what is it? What is fatigue? You've got respiratory issues, you've got digestive issues that could cause it, you could be depressed, you know? So what is it? So one of the things that I've come up with, or a concept I've come up with, is who's got the biggest team, and how you use that concept is you look at all the elements, right? You've got 5 of them, and you start listening to your patient's symptoms. You start inventorying those symptoms in your head or on a piece of paper, and you start putting this symptom goes beside this phase, this symptom goes beside this phase, and you start tallying them up. Then who's got the most players on their team? Who's got the biggest team? Who's got the most symptoms? That's probably the phase you need to look at. You look in within that phase, you try to match your symptoms up via the channels, like which symptoms belong to this channel, which symptoms belong to that channel, the yin or yang channel. And then you can use that information to even further pinpoint your treatment direction. Or, you look at that phase, who's got the most symptoms, and then, you can look into that phase with your pattern differentiation. If you're doing more Japanese acupuncture, you can use the meridians, to feel the pulses to see if that specific phase that has the most symptoms is off. You can do abdominal palpation if you're doing Japanese acupuncture, and palpate those areas that are related to the phase that has the most symptoms, and that gives you a direction to go to. So it's not like you're lost. It's not like you've got to treat all of those symptoms. A lot of times, if you work with the primary phase or the primary channel that's involved, then a lot of times those other players will start to disappear. Will start to get better. It's not going to be magic. Acupuncture isn't magic, unfortunately. It's going to take a few treatments, but you'll start seeing those other symptoms potentially disappear. And if not, then you can reevaluate after a few treatments and say, let me get another inventory of where the most symptoms are, and maybe you need to change directions. But let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let me get my magic screen going here. Give me a minute or two. Perfect. Oops. Oh, no. So let's say you have a patient that comes in and they say, "Well, Stacy," um, and I'm like, "What's your primary concern?" Well, Stacy, I'm a little get frustrated really easily, and then I have some problems with my eyesight, hard to see sometimes, and then I have a few menstrual irregularities. So Frustrations the liver, right? Typically, not always, but typically. A poor eyesight, um, the liver controls the eyes. And then menstrual irregularity. A lot of times the first place to look, and that's why I put it in the wood phase, is going to be the liver, because you think about how one of the liver's jobs is to regulate the blood, distribute the blood. Blood comes in at night, and then it distributes it. So, um, blood distribution, that's the job role for the liver, and that would be the first place to look. Not always, irregular menses is not always the liver, but we're going to put it underneath there for right now. Um, and you're like, well, how's everything else? And the person goes, oh, everything else is great. Well, hey, we know where to start looking, right? We know that we're going to start looking probably at the liver. It's not a lot of gallbladder symptoms. So we're probably going to look at the liver channel and treat that. And like I said, a lot of times if there were other symptoms, you might start clearing up once you really start to get the liver back online. But say we've got our next patient comes in. They've got the same three things. I mean, typically with patient number one, their patients aren't going to be that straightforward. Unfortunately, our life isn't that easy as acupuncturists. But so let's say the second patient comes in, and they have the same three things: poor vision, they've got some frustration, and then they've got some issues with irregular menstruation. And then they go, well, you know, I've got some issues with loose stools. That's under the earth phase. And then I would just clarify if they were having some menstrual irregularities or menstrual issues, I would say, is it only when you menstruate? Because a lot of times people will start having some bowel irregularities during menstruation because of the way that the liver commonly starts attacking the stomach spleen. But that's for a different lecture. It's not for today. But okay, so you've got some loose stools, so we're going to put that under the earth phase. And I really like sweets. I just cannot get enough sweets. I want to get off of them. Oh, that's under the earth phase too. But how's everything else? Oh, everything else is going great. So still, you've got more players up there in the wood phase, right? Up here, you still got more players up there. So we're still going to look about addressing the wood. Maybe we would touch a little bit on the earth, but um, the wood's still your primary player, primary person that you want to look at. So patient number 3 comes in. They go, um, I've got frustration, menstrual issues, vision issues. I got a little loose stools, so I like sweets. Have some breathing issues. Stacey, I've got some breathing issues. Problem exhaling. And when someone has problems breathing, two of the things we can look at is, do you have a problem exhaling or inhaling? A lot of times, this isn't a lecture on, asthma and respiratory issues, but a lot of times, if someone's like, the old Primatene Mist commercials, which was like asthma over-the-counter medication, where they're like, I can't blow the candle out. A lot of times, if you can't exhale, then it's going to have something to do with the lungs. But if it's problems inhaling, it could be you want to look at the kidney phase, right? Because of that grasping the chi, the kidneys are involved with pulling the chi down. But so we look at who's got the most players on their team, still Mr. Wood, right? So we would look at Wood to try to treat that, maybe touch on Earth a little bit. Because if you start seeing teams where you have a couple players on there, then maybe you need to touch on them a little bit, but you still put your primary focus, the most firepower that you have, at the team with the most players, and then maybe give a little love to that team that might have just a couple. But still, the wood is the primary focus. Not to confuse you, wood primary focus, and maybe just a little smidgen on the earth. right? And then probably if those things get in line, then some of this breathing stuff might correct itself. So we've got patient, what was that, patient number 3? So we have patient number 4 that comes in. And I've got some eyesight issues. I'm frustrated. I've got some menstrual irregularities. They're all under the wood phase. We've established that. And now, I've got some loose stools. I like some sweets. I can't get off of them. I'm like addicted to ho-hos. I can't get off of them. That's under the earth phase, right? We've established that. A little bit of exhaling issues. I can't breathe out really well. So we've got that under metal. We've got that's probably under the lungs. And now the patient number 4, they come in and they say, "Hey, well, I've got some low back issues, which is usually associated with the kidneys. I've got my knees are kind of weak. That's another kidney thing. I've got some night sweats. Uh-oh, we're starting to even up there with that wood phase. I've got a little bit of sometimes people don't really want to come out and be loud and proud about that, but I got a little low libido, right? And my motivation is no bueno. I'm not motivated to do anything. Uh-oh, guys. Now what's happened? The tides have changed. So now we look at, whoa, who's got the most players on their team? The water phase. So we probably want to focus on that. Maybe hit a little bit of the wood phase because that has, that's the runner up. You get the consolation prize, Wood, because you're no longer the biggest team. So try treating those two for for a treatment or two. See if the other things don't clear up. Then if the other things don't clear up, water's going to be your primary as long as they've got all of these symptoms. And you're going to treat wood secondary, and then you might want to give a little love to the earth too. So, and then treat a couple times and see how that clears up. So, hopefully, guys, that helps out with who's got the biggest team. And next lecture is going to be who's got who's on what team. So use this to help you figure out where to start with diagnosis. Like I said, it's going to be simple. We're starting with the basic building blocks, baby steps before you take gigantic leaps. But you're going to get there. You're going to be leaping like crazy. You're going to be doing really well. So, hey, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next lecture.